So, another Warrior Cats book, another spoiler-filled video. Now I could start with a theory video on who the villain is, but come on, it's Splashtail. It's obviously Splashtail. It would be like making a theory on what color the sky is. I mean, there is still room for theories on how exactly his plan was developed and how each of his associates play into it, but I'll do that later. There is a more pressing topic on my mind. Once again, Nightheart and Sunbeam have stolen my attention, and I am upset and confused. I am shaking with rage, because they did the impossible with these two. Not only did they fix Nightheart's character, they made the relationship between him and Sunbeam unique, interesting, worthwhile. They created conflict and sacrifice between these cats, and such a big decision was made. And then they ruined all of that within the last couple pages of the book. So much potential, just thrown away. Let me explain. Nightheart spends this book grappling with the weight of his decision to move to Shadow Clan to be with Sunbeam. Back in Thunder Clan, he always felt demeaned and mistreated by his clanmates, and especially his kin who seemed obsessed with the idea that he is a descendant of Firestar. In Shadow Clan, he finally has a cat who sees him as a true equal with Sunbeam, and he can finally be a regular warrior. Well, except for the fact that Berryheart and her friends hate him and openly want him kicked out. When originally switching from Thunder Clan to Shadow Clan, Nightheart convinced himself to see only the negatives to staying in Thunder Clan and only the positives in moving to Shadow Clan. But in this book, something amazing happens. Character development. Dovewing, of all cats, has this wonderful idea that Nightheart should pay his old clan a visit to make sure he truly feels satisfied with his decision. The result is rather wholesome. She gives him genuine insight. He goes from being awkward and embarrassed at the idea of Thunder Clan to really realizing the significance in the community of his childhood. The importance of a group of cats in clan territory that he decided to leave behind. What was once a deliberate escape for Nightheart with no negatives whatsoever starts to become an issue with two conflicting sides. We see him feel the pain of being separated from his family, and what they do with this is a welcome surprise. The conflict they set up at the end of this book is surprisingly complicated. Let me summarize. Due to Tiger Heartstar going off the rails and getting needlessly controlling over RiverClan without much evidence to support his reasoning, and StarClan outright disagreeing that he has the right to do that, there is a threat of war from SkyClan and RiverClan joining forces to liberate RiverClan, and whether or not the battle happens depends on the support of one more clan. It just so happens ThunderClan is the clan which escalation of the conflict hangs in the balance of. Bramblestar is anti-violence, but Squirrelflight wants to stand with Leafstar, and at a later gathering in the book, Bramblestar suddenly reveals he is considering stepping down and giving his position to his battle-ready deputy. Nightheart, a Shadow Clan cat who does not want to fight his former family members, sneaks off to Thunder Clan to tell Bramblestar to stay leader so he can force Thunder Clan to stay neutral and out of the war. It all culminates in the best Bramblestar scene we've had in so long. He is so honest about trauma he experienced back when he was held prisoner in the Dark Forest and isolated from other cats for moons, and how hard it is for him to get help from even his own family members. Nightheart doesn't fully understand how it happened, but he has fallen into a position where Bramblestar trusts his words deeply, and upon understanding this, Nightheart no longer has the heart to tell him to keep leading. Bramblestar is just not fit for the job anymore. He should be spending the rest of his life making peace with himself. He's fought in more than enough battles to earn his retirement. And in having this emotional moment with his grandfather, it is revealed just how special the familial connection is to him. And not just Bramblestar, but his other family members as well. He spends the book feeling a draw to Thunder Clan, particularly his sister Finchlight, who he grew up beside. A nightmare reveals he could absolutely never go into war against them, and through his visits he decides he should not manipulate them to stay out of a worthy cause that Squirrelflight believes in. And he realizes how foolish he was to pass judgment on his own family members just because of their expectations of him. He realizes it was in his own power to change those expectations and he just didn't give it a chance. So when he goes back to Shadow Clan one last time, he fails Berryheart's final assessment on purpose, as a way of forcing himself to be kicked out of the clan with no way back, and to save Sunbeam the embarrassment of her clan thinking he left because she wasn't good enough. And that's a strong enough moment in itself, but it goes even deeper, because they do something unheard of. Nightheart, while making the right decision for himself, still has to bear negative consequences. He has to make a serious trade-off, because he has to leave Sunbeam behind, heartbroken, her knowing that he failed his assessment on purpose and that he didn't love her enough to stay in Shadow Clan. And that is a spark of drama with endless opportunity for future development, especially when we see how Sunbeam's chapter ends, with her actually thinking her mother Berryheart has a point to hating clan swapping as much as she does. It could have been a lovers to enemies plot, where one or both of Sunbeam and Nightheart grow to hate each other and be opposing forces in the war between Shadow Clan and Thunder Clan. Sunbeam could have become an anti-hero, leaning into agreeing with her mother and wanting to battle so no cat could be hurt like she was. Nightheart could have been an anti-hero, facing the guilt of the massive hole he bore in Sunbeam's heart, or guilt if the war with Shadow Clan causes significant loss. But all of this development, all of this absolutely brilliant writing, amounts to nothing, because Sunbeam just walks right into Thunder Clan at the end of the book, open and happy to continue their relationship. Nightheart betrayed her! Nightheart promised he would not abandon her in Shadow Clan, and he did, and she's not even upset. It was a beautiful message, that doing what's best for yourself can and often does come with the consequence of hurting others. In life, you're going to have to disagree with people, you're going to have to reject people, and you are going to have to break up with people. You're going to be put in situations where you have to make tough decisions, and come out of it hurting regardless of the path you choose. Everything comes with a trade-off. But rather than facing this reality, Nightheart enters a fantasy where he can make such a sacrifice with zero consequences. And Sunbeam completely bends to his will, despite the fact that she should have reasons to hold Shadow Clan dearly. If I had an idiom to use for this, I would say Nightheart has his cake and eats it too. This is like all those children's animated movies where a hero character decides to sacrifice their life, only to be completely fine moments later. The intention in the sacrifice will always have so much less significance when there are no consequences faced as a result, to the point you have to question if the plot even needed a fake sacrifice. So congratulations, warrior cats. You gave me hope, then proceeded to crush it into the ground, never to be seen again. But Squirrelflight is gonna get her 9 lives next book. We have that to look forward to. Right? Right? Please, please, I'm begging you, don't mess this up too. Alright. Bye everyone.